A lot of readings about darkness and distress. Maybe appropriate coming off of daylight savings time. I don't know, from last Sunday. But, oh, hey, Al, how are you? Good. Sharon, good to see you. My brother-in-law Al's here up from Charleston. We ordered up the best weather we could for you, so hope you enjoy it. And the weather fits, doesn't it, these readings? It's interesting to me because there's a question at the root of all that just shows up over and over and over again in our culture. And it takes many forms. We even have a name for it in theological study, theodicy. But it kind of boils down to, why doesn't God make it easier? Why are there times of distress? What's with the sun going away and the stars falling out of the sky? Aren't you God? You made this whole thing. Is this really how you made it? Why did you make it that way? Or, put in the way most people know the question, why do bad things happen to good people? As we sit in the midst of where we find ourselves as a church, as a nation, as a world, aware of all the tumult and that's what I like to call it, just lots of all over the place. But you know what? That ain't new. It might be a little heightened in this space, but that ain't new. But there it sits. And here's the thing that's been really clear about the theodicy question. I don't care where you live. I don't care what time you lived. I don't care what language you speak. And I don't care what God you worship. No one has answered that question, at least not satisfyingly, because it doesn't really work that way. And there should be a deep, humbling insight to that, to all of us. And I'll give you a natural example. You sometimes go, well, that's why I don't believe in God, or that's why I don't go to church. Because you can't answer the toughest question in all of the universe? Who do you think you are? I'll give you one simpler. Do you know, I did not know this till this week. I don't mean to scare you. Do you know that we don't know why bicycles work? I did not know that. Did you know that? First of all, I didn't realize this. Little story. This is because I want you to hold this in front of you as you think about why bad things happen to good people. I didn't realize the bicycle that you and I ride, if you ride a bicycle, was really invented around 1890. I didn't realize that. I just assumed it was a lot older. It's not. 1890. And the first mathematician to kind of go at, why does it do what it do? Why does it stay up? He came up with an answer real quick, mathematician, and it was great. And it held up till about 1930 when someone goes, that's not possible, and here's why. So the whole worldwide universal theory of why a bike stays up was there and then went away. And so then this guy comes up with the theory of why bicycles stay up, why they're secure. And that held till 1970. When another mathematician, physicist said, that's not possible here. And he gave 4 examples of why it doesn't work. And Michael Brooks was his name, who's a quantum physicist, said, we don't understand so much about this. We don't understand dark matter, and we don't understand this just like vastly accelerating expansion of the universe. But a far more humbling mistake is we don't even know why bicycles work. He's like, as a physicist, it's very humbling. And as he said so well, everyone knows how to ride a bike. Nobody knows how a bike works. And so if you can't know that, or at least it seems like we can't know that, maybe we'll figure it out someday. But then maybe we should lay down the question around the easiness of life and focus on where we're going to find hope and strength and a future. And I would submit to you that's found in the relationship, in the loving trust of God. That when you pull out the whole story and lay it down, we see a God who, in making us, really had no choice, if you want. He couldn't have made it easier. Because what he made us was as close to God as he could. Right? God, that's one of those interesting things. There's things that God can't do. Well, God can't make another God. God can't stop being God. God will always be love. God will just emanates this reality. But the other thing is God can't make another one. And so what he chose to do, for whatever reason, I can't get into that. I don't know. I wasn't there. And I don't have a big enough head to know. But he took us right up to the razor's edge. And we hear that throughout Scripture. It says we were made in the image and likeness of God all the way back to Genesis. And we hear in the New Testament, little less than a God. And what that allows us to do is co-create. And what that also allows us to do is to disintegrate, to destruct, to decreate. Father Ron Rolheiser once said, we can be a martyr or we can murder. That's the power that's within us. And so then when you lay down that, why didn't he make it easier? Well, he made a choice for whatever reason. That's the question I can't get into. But that insight, and by the way, I'm trying to give you an insight, not an answer. If I answer the question of theodicy for you today, kill me. I've done you a huge disservice. That's not how mysteries work. But as you think of the suffering in your life, if you think of the things that make you feel disintegrated, that make you feel pulled apart, isolated, alone, hurt, howling in pain, the God that loved you into existence gave each and every one of us the power to heal, the power to love, the power to bring people back together. But there's an instinct within all of us that can be really strong, and it's fear. And fear is often what tramples people, literally sometimes. When people are filled with fear, stampede out of a crowded space. That's not a rational decision in their head, right, to step on someone. If as we're leaving church today, you're walking out the door and you trip and fall, I'm not going to step on your back to head out the door. I've never seen it. But when fear fills our heart, we're not even seeing. We're just trying to find the way out. And so when we're hurt, when we're fearful, there's the rub. And so then the question becomes, why did God hide himself, if you will? Why is this hiddenness the reality? Well, because I'm submitting as the insight is that he's giving us the power and the space to do this. I get the obvious response, well, he shouldn't have done that. Okay, I'm not a part of that discussion. The alternative was to make a bunch of beautiful little Swiss watches that work perfectly, but really couldn't interact one with another. And I don't know about you, but when I think of the profound moments in my life, they were not around perfection. They're just around beautiful expressions of sacrifice and love. When I think of all the ways that I have opportunity to sacrifice, the thing that's always a part of it is when we really sacrifice. And again, think of it as a steward, whether that's your time, whether that's your talent, your skills that you give to others, or your treasure. And again, whether that's money or possessions that you have, as you give those things out, one of the most beautiful things that makes no sense in the physical universe is when you do that, when you and I do that, we have more. We find we have more. That's not how it works in the physical universe. When you give, you have less. But in God's math, when you give, you have more. And so in the midst of suffering, in the midst of wanting it to be easier, what's being laid in front of us as people that were made in the image and likeness of God was God saying, I want you to do what I do to each other, and in a way that cannot be done any other way. And the fountain of that gift starts at the cross. It's God taking flesh and saying, I sacrifice for you, right? He gave of his time, his talent, and his treasure. He gave it all. It did nothing for God. It did nothing for God. But in that moment, he testified to many, many things. And one is, I can't make it easy. I can't. That's not how this works. But what I can do is teach you how to be life-giving, how to be a co-creator with God. And just as God in many ways can seem hidden within our experience of our world, and sometimes as we look at the history of it and go, I feel like he's getting more and more hidden, the reality is he is not. The reality is he is always there from this fountain of the cross, giving it back to us to share with others. In this Eucharist, his presence is hidden. His presence is hidden in the simple reality of bread and wine. And he says, take this. Take what? My sacrifice. What sacrifice? The cross. Why is there a cross? Because for all space and time, God said, I will always, 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 always show you I love you. You're not a mistake. You're not the totality of your mistakes. You're not the missed opportunities. You are mine. I love you. I loved you into existence, and I want you to love each other. That is such an opportunity and invitation. And most of us can quickly, in a reflection, go, I have missed so many opportunities to co-create, to build the kingdom of God right here on earth. But I hope we can also stop and go, and I have done it. I've been that instrument of God's love to others. And I'm certainly aware of when people have done it for me. And where it always takes me is gratitude and then the opportunity to go, I got to do that for others. I do. I've got to be that for others. Not because I know it all, not because I've ever done it perfectly, but because he loved me first, I want to love others. So how do we do that? It starts here. It starts today. It starts with this Eucharist into our flesh, so that when we go out into that snowy, dark world, it's different than we came in. There's this challenge for us. It's always hidden every day, hidden in plain sight, if you want. Hidden right in plain sight. All that's painful and dark in our world, the answer to that is the love of God. The love of God in creation, right through to the cross, to us today. So as we think about all in our world that needs healing, all in our world that needs light and love and mercy, let's prepare our hearts to receive him so that when we leave here, it is stronger, more aware of his love, so that we can co-create and share that love and mercy with others. May God be praised.